All right, let's talk about AI, but let's skip the usual hype. Today, we're getting the full 360-degree picture. We're going to look at what's really happening when companies try to use it, what's cooking in the research labs that's just wow, and yeah, we're going to talk about the serious risks that nobody can afford to ignore.
Okay, so let's just start with a major reality check. This quote from Peter Cappelli at Wharton really hits the nail on the head. You hear all this stuff, all this buzz about AI just swooping in and taking over jobs tomorrow, right? Well, the view from inside actual companies, it's completely different. The real story isn't some sci-fi fantasy, it's about the sheer grinding amount of work it takes to get this stuff off the ground.
So, here's how we're going to break it down today. First, we'll hit that AI adoption paradox. Then, we'll look at what's happening on the research frontier. After that, we'll confront some of the hidden risks. And finally, we'll pull it all together for the full 360-degree view. All right, first up, the AI adoption paradox. And this is all about the surprising reality of what it takes to implement AI.
You know the story you hear in the headlines, right? The expectation is so simple. Bring in AI, slash the headcount, save a ton of money. Easy. But the reality? Oh, the reality is a whole different beast. We're talking about a hugely expensive, incredibly complex overhaul of pretty much everything. It is not a magic wand you can just wave.
And it's really about so much more than just cutting jobs. We're seeing these new tools pop up, like KNO, for example, and their whole purpose isn't to replace people, it's to capture and scale a team's collective knowledge, their brain power. So yeah, productivity is probably going to go up, but it's happening with a human still in the driver's seat. The impact on business is just way more nuanced than we're led to believe.
Okay, let's switch gears. Section 2, pushing the research frontier. This is where we get a glimpse into the AI innovation fire hose. So while businesses are dealing with implementation headaches, the research is just exploding. And what's really fascinating is how it's shifting to solve these really subtle, real-world problems. I mean, think about it. An operating room. The surgeon says, "Pass me the vial." Which one? A mistake there could be catastrophic. Well, new AI research is tackling exactly that, teaching the system to spot that kind of dangerous ambiguity. That's a huge deal for building systems we can actually trust.
And it's not just about safety, it's also about getting smarter, more strategic. You know how for years AI in games was kind of predictable? Well, that's changing. In these super complex strategy games, which are basically test beds for real-world decisions, AI is learning to think long-term. We're talking models like TowerMind that aren't just making the next move, they're developing an entire game plan. That's a massive leap.
We're seeing that exact same jump from simple tactics to real strategy in cybersecurity too. For the longest time, security AI was all about brute force, just blocking known attacks. But now, the game has totally changed. They're building AI with what you can only call intuition. Systems that can actually anticipate what a human hacker is going to do next. It's like having a digital detective that's always a step ahead.
And this last one is super important for actually using this stuff. Researchers are cracking a major problem. These giant AI models are, well, they're giant. They're too big and clunky for many real-world uses. So they figured out this cool process called knowledge distillation. Think of it like a genius professor, that's the huge AI, teaching a star student just the essential stuff. You end up with a small, super efficient model that's an expert in one specific thing. So the big picture here, the research is moving past just raw power. It's all about finesse now, making AI smarter, safer, and way more strategic.
All right, Section 3, confronting the hidden risks. Because with all this amazing progress comes some unintended consequences. And this leads us to a really important question that everyone in this space needs to be asking themselves. As we're building these incredibly powerful tools, what new problems are we accidentally creating along the way?
Okay, let me give you a really stark example of one of these new risks. It's a concept called de-anonymization, and it's exactly what it sounds like. We're talking about AI agents that can just use the web to figure out who people are in supposedly anonymous datasets. The whole idea of anonymous data is starting to crumble. And look, this isn't some far-off theoretical threat. It's happening right now. There was a recent study where an AI was given access to supposedly anonymous interview transcripts from scientists. And just by analyzing their words and cross-referencing public info, it successfully figured out who 6 of those 24 scientists were. Think about that. Their anonymous words were linked right back to their real names. That's a huge deal.
And this really highlights a pattern that we're seeing over and over. It's like a formula. You take a powerful new AI capability like these re-identification agents, you apply it to a specific domain, say public research data, and boom,
you create a brand new human risk, the loss of professional anonymity. Or here's another one. You take an AI that's been trained on biased language from the internet, you apply it to something sensitive like family law advice, and what do you get? The very real risk of unfair, inequitable legal outcomes. The capability itself is what creates the risk.
Okay, let's bring it all home now with our final section, the 360-degree AI view, where we synthesize all this complexity, innovation, and risk. So after looking at all this, what should you actually do? Well, it really comes down to 4 key things. Number 1, acknowledge that this stuff is hard. Implementation is complex and expensive. 2, keep your eyes glued to the research. What's happening in the lab today is what will define the market tomorrow. 3, you have to anticipate the ethical risks. Get out in front of them before they blow up in your face. And 4, start getting ready for regulation. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
And all of this really leaves us with one final and, I think, crucial question to ponder. The capabilities of this technology are accelerating like a rocket ship. They're on an exponential curve. But our wisdom to manage it, to really think through the consequences and build in the right safeguards, that feels like it's moving at a walking pace, a much more linear path. And honestly, closing that gap between our power and our wisdom, that might just be the central challenge of our time.